All right, a lot of really cool things to show. I know everybody is chomping at the bit to show their own stuff, and I think if we can, yeah, I will try to keep people on time. I'm going to limit myself to like 5 minutes, for example, and so if I take longer than that, somebody yell at me. There is a lot of really cool stuff to show. Let me start screen sharing. I'll go ahead and get us started. We've been adding first-party notebooks thanks to the amazing work of people at Marimo. We're big fans, and we started embedding Marimo directly into the app so that we can do a bunch of magical things. So here you'll see our OSO organization. I don't know if you can see the URL, but one of the things to note is that we're starting to move towards GitHub-style URLs. So this is opensource.observer/OSO is our organization. All of our settings are tucked in behind here now. Anything that's labeled internal is not actually shown to anybody outside of us. These are, we can kind of feature flag this stuff. And then for Carl, I think this flow is pretty well tested now. If there's any bugs, please let me know. The way that you create a new notebook is by clicking on new. It will generate a fake name for you. I'm going to rename this Demo Day while it's loading. It has like a little sonar like toast to tell you if it successfully completed. There is a bug that we are aware of, which is that this is for you, Javi. Make sure that you import Marimo before you show anything. Because otherwise SQL cells downstream of it will fail. But yeah, you can rename stuff here. Coming back, it shows up here. So that's our demo day. I have a bunch of tests here. You can delete notebooks that you don't need anymore. You can also clone notebooks that, I know, Carl, you were saying you wanted some kind of templating system. That's how I imagine it working. I already filed the bug where our deletions right now don't have a confirmation modal. We should definitely add that because I fat-fingered a couple of things already. Yeah, as you guys are playing with this, please file issues in the epic that I mentioned earlier. Yeah, let me pause there, see if anybody has any questions.
One question is, how real is the deletion currently? Like, can we recover?
Yes, they are a deleted at column filter.
Okay.
So not real. I don't think any of our deletions are real until we start like complying with GDPR type stuff. Yeah, any other questions?
Nope.
And yeah, I'll save this for Javi to show the saving stuff later.
Cool. Should I take over?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Let me go. Is this set up? Yes. Okay. Let me share this screen. Window. This one. Oh no, I need to this one. And okay. So yeah, I'm super excited for this demo day. Can you see? Oops, not Marimo. Sorry. Open source on the server. Okay. So I want to present a couple things today, but let's start from the beginning. So Ray has shown all the all the wiring that has been done in the front end, but that's just like the outer shell. I want to show you some of like how the internals have been implemented, because we have to implement quite a lot of features, and I mostly want to focus on two, which is the AI generation part and the Supabase file store. But let me start by showing up how it works. So as you can see right now, I'm on our Marimo notebook. I just created this notebook, which is like a random one. And as you can see here, there's the generate with AI button. As long as you're logged in, everything will be wired up for you, agent, model ID, everything. And it's completely wired up to our own agent. So when we are doing a query here, we're actually using our workflows. So let me do what you said earlier of import Marimo, so it works. Import Marimo as MO. Let me run this, and you can here do any question. I have one copied, which is list the name of GitHub repositories that are owned by open source server. I will select SQL, and as you can see here, the model is already also semantic. We hit run, and this will kick one of our workflow jobs. It will run the workflow. Right now, it's using the semantic workflow. If you haven't been following past demo days, basically, we have like this semantic layer, and then we have retry mechanism and a couple of techniques to make everything work. We can accept by hitting Command Enter. And then we need to change this to be the OSO warehouse, and we can actually execute this. This will execute, and as you can see, these are all our repositories like private ops, Kariba, Insights, OSO, and you can see how all of them work. You can then put everything in a DF, and you can just do your sciences normally. But it's really cool because we can see this working end to end. It's connecting this external tool Marimo through their interface to our service. Let me also show the saving thing. So this has autosave, which means that every time that you type something, it will autosave for you on Supabase, which means that everything is persistent. So if I reload, obviously everything will load back and everything is as it was earlier, and it will auto-run for you. So your work is not lost when you actually do this. I'm going to be super quick, and I'm going to show some of the implementation details so people have some knowledge and vision into it. So what you're seeing right now is Marimo. This is this tab, yeah. So basically, how it works is we hook up into their store, and we configure for you our AI endpoint if it's not specified. And we allow you to connect to our services. The thing about this is all of this is configurable. So in the future, if we want to pass different models or allow people to have different, let's say we have I don't know, also semantic turbo, also semantic, whatever, 3.5, we can configure everything of it, and it's ready, it's wired. And then I want to show super quick the routing. All of this wasn't, plug and play. We've had to do a lot of wiring. Yes, Ray?
Yeah, really quick question. How hard would it be to just have an additional option underneath OSO Semantic as just stock pass-through Gemini with our Gemini keys?
It would be easy. Right now, there's not a way for us to configure multiple in the dropdown. I don't think there's a way. I need to check this out, but we can definitely pass, also vanilla or also Gemini, whatever we want, and we can just give it to the normal agent, not our SQL one. That's doable.
Oh yeah, that's what I mean. Is basically just in the dropdown. I don't know how it's implemented in the background, but in the dropdown, have one for our workflow and one that's just passed through to Gemini without Gemini keys.
I see it totally doable. We would need to modify the Marimo completion endpoint, which I'm showing on the screen, to handle this case. Probably just routing it, to special endpoint, which is just our inference endpoint for raw Gemini. But I think we should do that to give people, the ability to just use Gemini.
I mean, I think what I would probably do is just have a really basic workflow, right? Because you were saying you want the dropdown to be able to choose different models.
Mm-hmm.
So how I would do it is I would just have in our OSO agent, a really simple workflow that is just a wrapper for the LLM. And then you would choose between different workflows, right? The OSO semantic workflow, and let's call it the minimal workflow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's totally doable. Yeah, let me write an issue after we're done with demo day, but yeah, I think we should do that too. Cool, thank you. I will continue. So what you're seeing on the screen is the Marimo AI completion endpoint, which means that we have had to create an endpoint which actually mimics Marimo's format and then translates it to OpenAI format and then pulls back OpenAI format and gives it back as it's expected to Marimo, which means that we have to do a lot of discovery to see how everything is wired up. It's not been, plug and play out of the box because how this is implemented is there's a API service running in the background when you run Marimo, which is handling configuration, API for AI calls everything, and we've had to mimic this for like these settings. So yeah, it's not been like a small, it's been like we need to do like a lot of like research, implement all of like the streaming responses, and we've had to create our chat completions route and our responses route, which means that right now, if you have an OpenAI compatible client and you just put open-source.observer /API /v1, we are OpenAI compatible for both endpoints. So it should be the case that you can hit it against Klein or another tool, and it should start, it should work out of the box, which is something super cool. And totally with that minimal agent, I just see us, being able to provide more and more tools gradually. Next thing that I want to show is the super-based file store. How does it actually work under the hood? So basically what you're seeing right now is this tab, and it's the super-based file store. So we have this file store abstraction, which is just an interface that has a save file method and a read file method. And then what we do is here. For each of the file stores that we have configured, we save it. So we will save first to Superbase, then to the fragment, which is like the identifier in the URL where we encode some parameters. And for when it reads, right now it just like gives the first one that exists and has some data. But we are planning on changing this to allow for some fallbacks, overrides, and more complex behaviors. How the file store works is we pass a lot of like parameters via the end variables, like the Superbase URL, JWT token, anon key. And then we pass the notebook name and organization name. As Ray said earlier, we're migrating to like a more GitHub style approach. So what we do is we have this save file where we just insert into our table and check all the permissions and everything. And then we have this read file where we select the notebook which hasn't been deleted, and we just return the data. So this is how it works under the hood. I just want to pause super quick if someone has any question regarding Marimo, because I will switch to Superbase super quick. Cool. Well, in that case, I'll be super brief. Another thing that we've been working on is here. We've been working on these migrations. So we have created this one, which introduced a new reserved names. We have some names that can be used by people, let's say like dictionary names like Apple, Optimism, and these kind of things. We have to give them by hand. They're right now restricted. And this adds those fields. And then we also have this migration, which checks, if the organization name is not reserved, and if there's like a lower key only version. So how Unique Index works is that it will allow you to add, let's say, for example, optimism with an uppercase O. But if you try to add, again, let's say all lower cases, the Unique Index will just throw an error. So this is how we implement the uniqueness check, being able to like check the lower function here, which is something I didn't know, I discovered, which was super cool. And if you guys need to solve this problem in the future, a unique index is your solution. And then I will super quick pass to the workflows, which I have opened here. We have this new file under the OSO agent to changelog.md. So let me open the preview. We have like every time that I've created a checkpoint for an agent implementation, something that I'd say, okay, it's worth keeping in history, so we can see in the future where it came from to not explore the same paths. We have this new Claude command, which is this workflow changelog, where we basically just give Claude some instructions on how to create a changelog and a diagram. And there's something like this. Let me open the preview. They have like the key components, which is basically a summary of which components are being used, like the semantics workflow, the vector database mixing, etc. It gives a small summary of like the flow, and it gives like a more in detail execution flow. And then it has a flow diagram in Mermaid, which means that we can like easily and in a visual way explore how it's working and all of the different steps. This is a really visual way and really nice way to see something, to see everything at the same place. And every time that people are done creating like a new workflow that they want to like, save for future reference, they just do /workflow changelog, should be fine. And here we have, for example, another. This one is, as you can see, a little bit more complex, add some extra stuff. And then, as you can see, then the diagram is a little bit more complex. And yeah, hopefully this is useful to understand for where we come from, which direction we take, and to keep stamps of everything that we do. To, as I said earlier, not explore paths already explored. And yeah, with that, I think I am done with my demo day explanations. Definitely been like super full of features and super visible stuff. So I'm super happy for it. And does anyone have any questions or comments?
No. Yeah, looks really cool.
Thank you. If that's everything, I will pass on to the next one. Thank you.
All right. I've got a lot to share. I was hoping that it would deploy. It seems like it is not finished, so I'm going to show it from the preview mode in Plasmic. Oh, actually, I can show a few first. I can switch over. And as a result, I did not open multiple tabs, so we are going to suffer as these things load. But basically, we now have a featured page where you can see all the different featured notebooks that we have. There should be around 10 of these, and I'm going to show a couple different examples. I'll pop back over to the latest version, which hopefully we'll be deploying by the end of this demo. And there's basically 3 different categories that we have right now. I think in the future, what we'd expect is that a given user might be able to curate kind of a set of notebooks, much like you would if you had a repo. So you are the owner, and then you have different folders, directories, and then within that you have basically a flat list of the notebooks. So right now, I'll just pick one as a example to start with. I think this is one of the pretty compelling ones that I'm excited to share with our friends at Optimism. I'll kind of toggle back and forth between the actual notebook itself and the code. So all of the notebooks have this like standard template at the top, which I've created. It basically has an author, an updated date. This is just Markdown. Then there's an accordion, which gives you some details on the math, sources of data with links to where you can find out more information about those. And then this is where you can pin all the documentation that's relevant both to using OSO and then, making notebooks in Marimo, and then anything else that might be helpful, like a tutorial or other resources. So that's the basic structure. The way that a lot of these notebooks work is that there's a configuration or a set of widgets that you can apply different settings to. In this particular case, what we're going to be showing is basically all of the projects that are using the most gas or contributing the most revenue to the superchain. And let me just make this a bit bigger. That's funny. It redid it. In any case, this is one of the quicker ones. Let me just show you the code while this is running. So Javi, one thing that I've done is in the default, have Marimo coming in now as my boilerplate. And then I have this kind of, try accept clause, depending on whether you're doing it locally or not. This isn't working pretty well. I think the only difference is just that you now have, if you're running it locally, it'll pass none back. That's it. And then if you're curious, it's like very, very easy to create nice looking, Markdown. You can embed HTML directly in it. So this is what that little accordion that I made looks like. Again, very easy. And then I've also had kind of a standard import libraries, which brings in libraries that you frequently use. So in any case, that's some of the defaults that are coming through. But yeah, let me just show you this notebook. So what you can see here is a tree map. It basically shows over the past year which projects are contributing the most revenue across the superchain. It includes all 17 chains. If you want, you can come in here and we can say, let's exclude base because that's the biggest one. And it will immediately update. It's a tree map. So let's say you want to explore more on Sonium. You click this, it makes a nice visualization, and you can see all the figures over here. If you wanted to go back to all time, you can do that and see the same thing. And then you can come down here and get a table, which basically shows the project, the chain, the contribution. Super easy to export that. You can copy it to clipboard and drop it into a spreadsheet. Very, very simple. I love this. And then there's another chart over here, which basically visualizes this over time. So yeah, that's a example of what I think would be a pretty powerful dashboard that we could ship tomorrow and people would find a lot of utility in. Any questions on this one?
Nope, pretty straightforward. Looks good. Looks good though.
Yeah, looks good, right? Here's a related one. Oh, sorry, was that from you, Ikra?
No, I was just saying it looks good.
Yeah, they look nice. Here's another one. This is basically looking at, oh, sorry, the wrong button. This is looking at DeFi. It has a different style here. This is what I've called like the leaderboard template. And same boilerplate at the beginning. But this one begins with some kind of quick overall trends. So you can see TVL rising across all the chains, since January 2022. And then you can see like the market share. What percent of all TVL, all crypto TVL is on the superchain. These are basically widgets that are currently in the superchain dashboard, but they're in an Excel format. And then,
so where does the data come from for these?
It comes from DeFi Llama. In our case, it comes from our time series metrics.
Yeah, but market share is something that DeFi Llama tracks, and so we can pull that in.
No, we have to calculate this. So this is like not an expensive model, but it's a good example of one where we probably want to, make it a bit more like pre-compute it, because right now it is kind of going in, doing some logic to figure out which chains we care about, and so on. It's not expensive, but if we were to be building that up bottom up from some other indicator, then it would get very expensive to run.
Sorry, just to clarify, this is TVL market share.
Yep.
And the percentage is across everything that's in DeFi Llama?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And so what we can see is that, like, in addition to having the aggregate numbers, we can also go into detail about which projects are contributing that. And we can also see how much funding they have received from the foundation in the form of grants. And so here's what the leaderboard looks like. You can basically see each app, its TVL, the total TVL that it has across all chains, so not just the superchain TVL. We can see the market share, which is on the superchain, and then we can get a sense for how much funding is received.
Oh, this is cool. I really like being able to see the TVL with the funding side by side. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah. And so, like, as an example,
have we shipped something like this before?
No, this is new.
Okay. Yeah, they're gonna love that. That's awesome.
Yeah, this is great. Even cooler, you come down here and you can pick a project. So let's see here. Where's one that has been like doing very well recently? Let's take. Okay, this is an interesting example. Boonie.xyz. We can look that up here. Just type it in. We can see its activity, and it's really picked up very fast. This is showing a variety of different chains. We can filter out Arbitrum, we can filter out Binance, we can filter out Mainnet, and we can see just how much superchain activity has been happening. Again, I think this is very cool, and you can see the funding events. Yeah. I'm excited about this. Again, this is like...
Definitely demo this to Bobby in a first-party notebook tomorrow.
Exactly. Okay, so again, pretty straightforward, hopefully. Let's go to, I kind of forget what each of these are. Oh, okay, this is more just to kind of showcase some of the visualization capabilities. I was hoping to actually create this began where I was trying to create the contributor churn graph, There are a few issues I need to follow up with Ken on, just in terms of how things are being calculated. So instead of doing the whole thing, it just takes one metric, and then it visualizes it in what's called the joy plot, which I think is really cool and a beautiful way of showing the data. So let me just, you can come down here and you can configure things. So if you want to play around with different colors, let's do like speed. And it updates. We want to reduce the spacing between ridges so they overlap. You can do that. Anyway, data nerds like me like this kind of stuff. You might think it's boring. But yeah, it kind of updates, and you can see, you know, pretty nice looking charts here. We are one of the fastest growing projects that we are tracking, at least based on this metric of.
By what metric?
I think the metric is like the net monthly change in full-time contributors. So basically any project that was 0 3 years ago and has been growing shows up in this.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of things to ship next week, I think we are very close to, like, what I want to see is every single one of these notebooks that you effectively have one flagship image that looks really cool.
Right.
So, like, I think we should next week at some point queue up a bunch of image screenshots, like write the marketing copy for Twitter, and make sure that there's a pass-through link where you can actually link to the editable notebook at a qualified URL, which these are not yet, but like I think we're not that far from it.
Yeah, 100%. And like these ones, again, this is actually, you know, what I love about code here is that it's actually, okay, leave aside the boilerplate. It's one query, like it's actually very simple. And then all of the logic is basically just in creating the visualization, and you can tweak it down to whatever level of detail you want. That is definitely not something that you get out of other platforms like Dune.
Yeah, I think we should, like, so I see a tweet, I'm like visualizing a tweet thread in my head, right? Where it's like banner image, and then like a little bit of how it was done, and then, you know, a link to the notebook to do it yourself. Like, I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, loving it. All right, this one is contributor retention. This is also one that I kind of began trying to test Ken's numbers. It's like almost there. It's cool. Doesn't quite work. But let's think of a project. Oh, we have two options here. So one, we can actually look at the crypto ecosystems data if we want to, or OP Atlas. We'll just focus on OSS directory. Well, I'll show our own metrics first, and then we can grab another one. This does take, actually, that was pretty quick. Some of these are actually very slow, depending on how far back you go. But you can basically see, you know, the bars represent new versus churned. And then this is roughly like the cumulative number across all of that. So you can see that, you know, we have now approximately, 16 contributors based on how we define it. And in this case, it's anyone who has done any kind of engagement with one of our repos. So that could be that could be commenting on an issue, committing code, opening a PR, etc. So it's not the same as a full-time developer or you know, someone just committing code. But right now we don't have lifecycle metrics for those other things. So it's just the contributor definition.
Just to clarify, it's not stars, right?
It is not. No, stars does not count. I misspoke there.
Javi, did you raise your hand earlier?
Yes, I wanted to do a super small contribution to your visualization thingy.
Yeah.
We have this issue open on Linear, which is 939. There's this JavaScript package which is called HTML add to Canvas, which basically allows you to like save a screenshot of like an HTML you know, part of your website. So I totally see us having like a button, for example, in the navbar, it's like a screenshot button, and when you click, you like basically just like, you know, screenshot whatever the notebook has in that viewport, and then you can just like have it as the display image. So if we have like a gallery, we can use it there. So we have like a qualified link, we can use it as like the OG image in Twitter or something. I think that's like worth doing because like it will, you know, enter to the eyes, and I think it's super cool, the visualization you're doing, Carl. I think we should show them.
Yeah, 100%. We can definitely, you know, download PNGs. Plotly also out of the gate, it allows you, it has, you know, filtering functions, so you can I don't know, you can zoom in and you can pan over something that you want. And you can also save as an image. But yeah, like I think there's also some options to kind of create a like the metadata around the link, so we can play with that as well. Yeah, so here's a chart that we'll show to Juan at some point. If you're curious, I mean, you could just play around with this all the time. If you want to look at like, oh, actually, this is cool. So let's do electric capital, and let's do EVM, right? So let's touch the contributor metrics. We can basically see how the EVM ecosystem has grown over time. Now we're going to have to really start diffing our data against theirs, because I think they just have a lot less data in recent years than we do. Obviously, all of our data is stuff that we've vetted in the past year or so, and they have dropped off. But I think this is really cool. A related model here is the ecosystem benchmarking one. This is a slower one. These have actually been pretty speedy so far, but let's see how long this one takes. Okay, so you can actually compare two ecosystems on one of Ken's metrics. So let's take forks as an example. And so we can just compare Ethereum versus Solana in terms of forks. Solana is catching up. You can see Ethereum going down. Another thing we can work on is like being able to normalize and pick a date that you want to use as a starting point. I think I set this at sometime in early 2025, but you could imagine actually wanting to look at relative growth over a discrete time period. Yeah, this one's super simple. I think this is like a one-shot one where an LLM helped me follow the template and create the model or the dashboard very quickly. One more here on the OSS side. This one is a slower one. I think it's one of the ones that I like the most, but it basically allows you to see how many downstream developers are using a package. In this specific case, we're going to use libp2p. So what it's basically doing is looking at all of the packages that are owned by libp2p, like the GitHub namespace, and then identifying, based on the last time we did the SBOMs, any dependencies of that. And then we look again and see, okay, what projects are those dependencies associated with? So I think when this ran, you got like 4,000 downstream developers based on, again, this will just be based on projects that we have their SBOM for. So it's a small subset of the total dependencies. But yeah, give this a sec. It should run. Right now, the snapshot date is just the month that you want to look at the developer count for. You do now have snapshotting of when we took the SBOM, so you could actually time travel and identify, at that point in time, who was using it, and then the developers at that point in time. But in any case, you can see, yeah, 1,200 projects depend on it, 5,000 developers. It's mostly NPM, Go, and Rust. Not so many Python users. And then you can get a sense of who those projects are. Again, you could take that out and drop that into a spreadsheet. This over here shows what package manager and what repo. So if you want to verify the data is correct, you can do that easily. And then we can get a kind of a histogram of the size of the teams that are using libp2p, and a fair amount of enterprises that you might want to follow up with.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, super cool.
Yeah, we could do, I did Off-Chain Labs as an example as well. Not a whole lot of activity. We could do SQL Mesh. But yeah, I think that's fun. The last one that I'll share, this is basically the model that we were trying to make a month or so ago and kind of got stuck. But I made this morning, actually, because I was curious to see how our models were doing and when they had refreshed most recently. So this basically allows you to select any staging model that you want. I've queued up 4 here. We can, come up with some SLA. Right now, there's just one that's applied to all models. We could obviously have it be specific to the model. And then Marimo has like a pretty decent, at least out of the box, progress tracker that you can use. So it's basically showing how long it takes to grab data for each of these 4 models. I'll kind of show how the code is working here while that's running. So there's a very brute force way of figuring out what is the time column in each of these staging models, because it depends on the model. I think this works and gets all of them. And then there's basically a kind of way of going in and then dropping the name of the model in the time column as the parameter. We get the data back, we clean it. So that's how this works. And we can see how we're doing. So using a 14-day threshold for these 4 models that I checked, we're at 50% compliance. I kind of know what some of the issues are. So one issue with DeFi Llama is that we only run it once a month. So it's been 14 days since the end of the month. With this model, there's an issue on the superchain side. They have 2 holes in the data, and that hasn't been fixed yet. And then we haven't run SQL Mesh since, I think, September 7th or so. So that's why these other ones are missing. And if you want, you can get a sense of like how many rows they're crunching on like a average day. So I'm going to be using this a lot because I have a lot of questions as to how fresh the data is.
Yeah, this is nice. Very dog foodie. Love it.
Yep. That's it. Oh, one last thing, just because if you're wondering why performance has slowed down recently, while we're waiting, how many artifacts do you think we are generating metrics for right now?
Ooh, prediction market?
What's that?
Are we conviction voting? Prediction market?
Just give some votes. Put some in there.
This is across crypto ecosystems and OSS Directory and OP Atlas.
All of our project sources, yes. Oh,
but this is, okay. It's actually less than I thought, but it's a lot.
Yeah, here's the current coverage that we have.
Cool. Amazing. Dude, a lot of tweets. I feel like every single one of these is a tweet. I'm excited.
Yep.
I also like, I don't know what's going on in your head, Javi, but like in my head, it's like in the future, like any developer, let's say Ikura, like has an intention, right? He wants to do something like the SLA dashboard, but he doesn't want to write the whole notebook. Like, I think the AI workflows should be able to take an intention like this and be able to break it down and get it started almost to the point of like, everything that Carl is doing. He spent about a week to do this. In general, like these are the kind of things that I imagine the AI workflow should be able to do for you in like less than a half an hour, right?
Yep. Yeah, I think that there's probably like another model that I want to implement, like I don't know, OSO scaffold or something like that, which like is aware of like all of these constructs that you've manually done, Carl, spinning boxes, different graphs, heat maps, everything, and it just like helps you because it already knows the shape of the data. It knows with the semantic layer what it's going to give you back. So it may as well just in for everything, We do have to investigate if it's possible for one cell to create everything, but because we have control about everything in our fork, we can just implement it. Let me write it down and let me definitely file an issue for that.
I think the other thing that I think the other thing that stands out to me is just how primitive our data sets are. Like our data sets do not cover the type, and our experiments do not cover the types of things that Carl is doing here, right? Like when you ask how many projects are in the optimism collection, that is maybe like, that would be considered like elementary level queries compared to the types of things that Carl's doing here. And so I think we have a long way to go. I could see a path of where us getting there, but the AI workflows that we have right now are just not remotely close to the types of things that we would expect Carl to be able to do, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's still pretty archaic in comparison. I agree.
Yeah. Sorry, Ikura, didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, yeah, it was a different subject. I was going to say, I feel like these things that Carl is doing with the templating should be a first-class feature. Mainly the name and the author and the last updated stuff.
Uh-huh.
perhaps we should be the ones injecting a hidden cell in the notebook and save these in our Supabase database.
Yeah. I mean, we could just put it in the outer frame as well with the notebook name, right? Because we have like right now we only have notebook name, which is basically equivalent to a repository name. But we could have a display name or a description or author or last updated, and actually have that be exposed by default in the upper what's it called thing.
I feel like that's kind of good to have.
Yeah, totally.
All right. I will say this is really fun. It was like literally going from having an idea to getting a working first version of the dashboard was like down to 5 minutes or so. Again, I was using Cursor, but I think that the basic scaffolding should be pretty straightforward to get things going. And just knowing how long it typically takes someone to do that, it's going to create a lot of joy for people.
I am curious, how did this experience feel relative to your experience in Hex? Because you would assume that is very similar, but I don't know. Maybe you can tell me.
No. Hex is rough. You have to kind of manually do all the boilerplate. If you're copying something over, it's annoying because you then have to like manually get rid of everything. There's a feature that they charge you for, which gives you components. And so you can pull things out of components, but you basically pay for anything beyond one component on our plan. So I haven't used that much. So yeah, Hex is very frustrating to get going.
Sorry, I'm a little bit confused. The copying is easy, but what you're saying is that you use cursor rules to help you populate and rewrite what the block should be. Is that what you're saying? What is the thing that sped you up? I'm still missing that.
Yeah, I think the thing that sped me up is that you can basically start with, I can show you what it looks like, but you can basically start with a prompt in Cursor, and it generates a working dashboard for you. You have all the boilerplate. You have like your fetch data, your visualize data, placeholders ready. And so all you need to do is go in and just modify like the query. And then once it does that, you have a graph, you have everything ready to go. Which is like really satisfying.
So it is the AI features.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
And the fact that it's like speedy, responsive, it looks nice. Like the way that it handles Markdown, the way that allows you to insert variables and go back and forth between Python and SQL, all of those are just great. And I love the fact that I can see the Python as well and just know what's happening.
Nice. Awesome. I see. I feel like I see the future.
I'm fully sold on it. I like loved making these things. They were very
I think we've come a long way since literally 2 weeks ago when Ruben was like, "I love it, but I don't know if anyone else is gonna love it." And we were trying to even still see whether or not Marimo would satisfy all the use cases that you currently, at the time, 2 weeks ago, were using Hex for. So
yeah,
we've come a long way. This is cool.
I think it's great. And also the way that it has kind of built-in options for like, control flow and deciding when you want to refresh things through buttons and so on. Much like that stuff doesn't work well at all in Hex.
I think the other thing that we're not doing a good job explaining in our marketing, because we don't have any marketing, is like, if you think about a year ago, if you were to ask us to build a super chain dashboard, like, do you remember how daunting that felt? It's like, oh my God, we have to write like a bunch of fetchers for DeFi Llama and a bunch of fetchers for like all these other things, and then we have to write all these new models. And it's not to say that these things are overnight. Like, it still took us a while, but at that time it was like so much work that it didn't even feel worth doing. And now we've at least lowered the cost to the point where it's like, okay, it still takes a few weeks, but like we could do it. Like, and it's not like a huge distraction to do it, right? And so I feel like the next frontier is like, hopefully in a year from now, we look back at this and we're like, oh, it actually is something the AI agent could do, like, without us even putting much time into, right? I think it's cool to see that trajectory, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, going back to what Ikaro said, where I imagine users will have very opinionated styling and ways that they want to show things. And so you can imagine someone starting out and having a dashboard, 10 different things which are showing just one metric. And then you actually want to consolidate all of those into a single dashboard that has everything. It'd be great to be able to reference different notebooks and have it assemble a consolidated dashboard from everything else you've done.
Yeah, totally. Super cool.
Yep.
Ikaro, is 12 minutes enough for you?
How much?
12 minutes, I think.
Oh, definitely. Yes.
All right. Anybody else have any questions for Kyle?
No, it looks awesome. I'm super happy that it worked. Well, one thing that we have to mention is like we're running like Python in the browser, so it's like completely fired up everything. I think it's super cool. It's like a really
If we ever get a retro funding round, I 100%. I mean, yes, Marimo. But actually, the main one I want to fund is PyDide. Like the amount of work that went into making Python work in a browser is insane. Super cool. And I when we first started, I was like, remember when I was trying Jupyter React? I was like so skeptical that it would even run. And it's like, man, amazing.
We can create our own Code Academy.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let me share my screen now. Should be quick. So let me first talk about the tagging and SQL Mesh. So now when you run SQL Mesh, if you run the SQL Mesh job and you try to query it, you will notice that the data will not be updated. So to update the data, what you need to do, you go into Dexter, go into jobs, look for Nessie, and there will be this new job here that you can trigger a new run. And this new run, if there is one configuration available, this toHash, that you can leave it as an empty string. If it's an empty string, what this will do is change the Nessie tag, that is the consumer tag, to point to the latest main branch. So when you run SQL Mesh, we will always be updating the main branch in Nessie. And when you're ready, when you validate the data, and to validate the data, you can query our producer Trino in this new catalog. Sorry, in the old catalog. The old catalog is the main one. You can query it and see if it's all right. When it's all right, you can come here and launch the run with no string here. What this means is also that we can roll back the data if needed. So to roll back the data, you would first, you would need to get the commit, which is a bit annoying. But if you have our Tailscale VPN, which I guess everyone in the call should have, you can visit this URL and check the Nessie pod in Kubernetes and come to the commit history and get the hash. So with the hash, you can roll back to a previous version. If, for example, before running the Nessie job, you come here in the consumer, see the hash it's current. Oh, I forgot this.
Is he recording out?
I think we're losing.
Sorry?
You still there?
Oh, we can hear you now.
No, maybe my internet got something. But so I don't know when it cut, but basically a good thing would be before running the job to the main hash, you come here first and save the hash that the consumer tag was before. Just in case anything bad happens, you come here and put the tag back on. One bad thing about this is currently our garbage collector runs weekly, so you can only roll back to a weekly, no, 1 week max.
That's okay. I mean, hopefully we are more
Yeah,
responsive than
the rollback is probably like gonna happen like 5 hours from changing, right? Like, or like a couple of days after changing the main to the main branch.
What's the relationship between these hashes and the git commits? I assume there's no relationship, right?
No, there's no. This is all Nessie specific stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, one thing I should have. I might, now that I think about it, I might change the job to automatically print out like the consumer tag hash, so you don't need to save it manually. You can just go to the latest run and see what the hash was.
Yeah, that would be nice. Sweet.
So yeah, this is for SQL Mesh workflow. Then there is the dynamic workflow. Rest. Oh, why didn't? Okay, it was, for some reason it had failed. So for the dynamic workflow, what happens is if you want to add a new dynamic workflow, you can come to Indexer. It will create a new asset here in the dynamic folder because it's a different code location. And there are some utility functions. And this dynamic, how the dynamic workflows work is it's a single asset per type. For example, this is the type of this asset is a REST API type. And it's a partitioned asset that each partition would be a different asset entirely. So, and these assets are saved currently in our Supabase table here in the dynamic replications table. And as you can see, there to do it, you have an ID, the org ID. It's important to have. Ray, you're gonna change this to org name, right? Or
No. Everything is still like in the database itself. We still use org ID as the primary key. So it's more like at the Plasmic level, Next.js routing. We are routing by org name, but it
I
just
see.
you have to do an additional join to figure out how to get there.
I see. So the important fields are org ID, replication name. It's gonna be the name of the partition. Let me open the asset here. As you can see, the name of the partition is OSO __ JSON placeholder and Corsio, because OSO is the organization name and the replication name is the other part. Replication type is also important. Currently, we only support REST type. And then you have the other two important fields are config and credentials path. Credentials path is the name of the credentials in Google. So we don't save here anything that is sensitive information. And then the config, in this case, is just a JSON, and it should contain everything used in the asset that you coded to configure. In this case, since it's a REST DLT asset, it contains all the configuration used by DLT REST APIs. So in this case, it's a bit it can get complex. But for example, if you're just hitting a single endpoint, it should be fairly simple.
Triple checking here. The credentials path is namespace by org ID, or no?
Oh, this credentials path?
Yeah.
No, it currently what do you mean namespaced by org ID?
In the future, because these are private to an organization, the secrets and environment variables that we save should only be accessible to jobs by that organization, right?
Yes, yes, but yes, currently
Any
that
kind,
is not how, yeah.
any kind of path conflict like shouldn't exist because it's namespaced by org ID. Like if two organizations use the same name, then it should be fine, right?
Yeah, this currently this is all manually created, right?
Oh,
When
okay,
we
got it. Got it. Okay, understood.
when we move to automatically created, yes, there it should be include this.
Got it.
It should use the org ID or yeah, org name. And this too could be used too.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about this after demo day, but I'm curious, Carl. I know we gave you this workflow so that you could be unrestricted and run quickly, not being blocked by the stuff that Javi and I were working on. But I do think we're now at a point where it probably makes sense to make a Polaris organization, probably makes sense to make an Optimism organization. We can be the admins on all of these and set it up for them. But I think we're actually, getting to that point where we might want to start transitioning more stuff internally. Curious how you feel about that.
No, I was thinking the same thing yesterday. I mean, for context, Ikra, I guess especially, we had a call with a partner that we've worked with in the past, and they just wanted to start exploring some data sets and coming up with peer-to-peer graphs using it. And I just wanted to share a notebook and say, hey, go in, claim your space, and play around with it, right?
Yeah, we're very close. We're very close. I'm hoping by the end of next week, I want us to be comfortable setting up a, any kind of partner organization and sharing things through that. Like that's, I think we're very close.
Yeah.
Yeah, and these data sets, they will be private data sets.
A mix. So that's also the interesting thing, is they have some private data and they have some public data.
And
Yeah.
do you think they would probably want replication or connection?
I think both.
Oh, so everything. It's
I think they want all things.
Bill, the stuff that you built is extremely useful. We've done a good job of explaining that.
They want an AI platform for growth.
Like, I filed an issue, which I don't think we're going to finish by next week. Oh, sorry. Last thing. I filed an issue called Data Catalog, which we're not going to finish by next week. But I do think, sometime between now and Argentina, we probably want to start rethinking how this stuff is organized, where like there is, a public data marketplace, which includes the OSO pipeline and all of our intermediate and staging models for the OSO pipeline, right? And that is just something you can subscribe to in the data marketplace. And bring it into your own data catalog. And then there's private data connectors, which are part of your data catalog. And then there's private ingest jobs or replication jobs that are part of your data catalog. And then you have a unified view over all the things that you bought or have access to in the marketplace, and then all of your own internal databases in like one place where you can see all the schemas. I think that's going to be like, that's, there's one huge pain point is like people do not understand what data is where right now and how to make queries against it.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Yeah. I mean, I almost think that we need to create, like, I think ideally any user would have their own DAG and they can see everything that is relevant to them, right? Not.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Agreed. And so in the future,
with the user granularity
or granularity. But like in the future, when we have both public and private SQL mesh models, and there is actually like a rich hierarchy that has very fine-grained access control, I think everybody's going to have a unique view of what that DAG looks like, right? Every org is going to have a unique view of what that DAG looks like.
Yeah.
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 yeah, I think that's all that I have to show for now. Yeah.
Yeah, this is cool. I feel like this is one of my favorite demo days yet. It's cool to see how the pieces are, fitting together. Like we're all working separately, remotely on different things, but like it's really satisfying to see it all plugging together. So excited for this sprint. We're onto something here.
All right, should we turn off the recording and figure out what's next?
Yeah, I need to use the restroom. I'll stop the recording. And let's maybe in 5 minutes, let's sync back up.
Yep, sounds good.
I could use 10. Yeah, I could use 10, but yeah.
All right, I'm gonna grab some lunch as well. Okay, yeah.
Take your time.
We'll meet in the meeting room when we're ready.